Hello and welcome to part 2 of our virtual field day on soil nitrogen tests, brought to you by the Corn and Soil Health Project at the University of Illinois. In this episode, we will be taking a closer look at two soil nitrogen tests, the Illinois soil nitrogen test and the pre-side dress nitrate test with Tim Smith of CropSmith in Farmer City, Illinois.
Tim Smith, and our company is CropSmith. And there's really two parts to our company. We do contract research where we're testing a lot of fertilizer products, a lot of biologic products, a lot of plant nutrition type products. Then the other part of our lab is a laboratory. Other part of our work is laboratory where we do nitrogen soil testing. And we have two main tests that we do. We test for mineralizable nitrogen in the soil through the Illinois soil nitrogen test. And then we also do nitrate testing. So for example, for PSNT, for pre-side dress nitrate testing, we do a lot of testing for that. The Illinois soil nitrogen test that looks at the potential for that soil to mineralize and release nitrogen, and the nitrate test, they work well together because the ISNT, which is the mineralization test, it looks at how much nitrogen is in the soil and can be released in a given year. And it's a soil test you do periodically. You don't have to do it every year. But once you know the capacity of your soil, you can make your, you can budget how much nitrogen you need. And the way that the nitrate test works in conjunction with that is you can come in every year and test for nitrate and see how much nitrogen is in your field. And so one of the tests tells you what you probably should have in the field. The other one tells you what you have that year based on what's going on. The nitrate tests show a lot more variability, but they'll give you an idea of kind of what's going on. So how much nitrogen, if you need to increase or decrease your side dress nitrogen for that given year. So those two tests work well together. One of the things that's different about nitrogen testing in general compared to testing for pH or potassium or for phosphorus is that we like to sample deeper. If you think about where the roots of your corn crop are, we would like to have representative sample from that depth because that's where those roots are down there bringing in nitrogen. So we like to do testing of 0 to 1 foot and from that 1 foot to 2 foot. That gives us the best information. We probably get the most information from that top foot of soil, but that second foot of soil can sure make a difference in fine-tuning your nitrogen recommendations. And so it really is helpful to have that second foot of soil, whether you're doing ISNT and looking at how much mineralization can possibly be there, or whether you're looking at nitrate and seeing where your nitrogen is during the growing season and what's going to be available for that growing corn crop. We see a lot of soil samples come in from a lot of different areas of the country, but we have the most information from right here in Illinois and especially in central Illinois. We've done a lot of work here. And we see a lot of variability in the soil's ability to supply nitrogen. On our farm near Farmer City, where we have done a lot of nitrogen work, our optimum amount of nitrogen on the farms that we work on tend to be in the mid 100s. So in that 140 to 160 or 70 pounds of N tends to be the economic optimum amount of nitrogen. As we see soils that aren't as productive, that are lower in ISNT, that amount of nitrogen you need will go up. There are also areas that we've seen that have better soils, higher organic matter, and release more nitrogen, and they may need even less nitrogen than what can apply here to reach that economic optimum nitrogen rate. Of course, it's always important, the form of nitrogen, how you place it, all those things, and how much nitrogen you're having from the nitrogen you apply based on that year's growing season, what the weather conditions are doing to you. The weather conditions also affect the amount of mineralization. So, that's why nitrate testing plays into this because it helps give us a handle on nitrogen loss and then what the conditions of mineralization are for that given year. In organic systems, oftentimes the nitrogen you're applying is fairly expensive, and so you want to make sure that you get all the nitrogen from the soil that you can get, and then don't have to supplement it with too much nitrogen because of the expense of the forms that you're buying for organic production. If you're working with soils that have been long-term manured, ISNT works pretty good. Recent manuring, it doesn't do as good of a job, but and that's a place where nitrate testing does do a pretty good job, because if you've done a lot of recent manuring, you'll see high nitrate numbers. And if you have high nitrates in a soil, you know that you have enough nitrogen. If you have really low ISNT and low PSNT, you know you need to add more nitrogen. And so you can use those. It's just doing in organic systems, you probably need to calibrate your own soils in whatever organic system you have. So ISNT can be very useful, but you have to kind of calibrate it for your own soil. So you have to pick a starting point and then and do some trials, put a little more or a little less on, and based on your ISNTs. And I think you can fine tune your system of production pretty good by doing something like that.